Welcome back to Mountain Connections. Unfortunately, we have seen many disasters this summer, more happening now with wildfires, big storms, hurricanes, all those things. So what can you do to make sure you are prepared if you need to evacuate at a moment's notice? Well, let's find out right now.
September is Natural Disaster Awareness Month, and with tropical storms hitting the East Coast and wildfires raging on the West Coast, it's important to make sure you and your family are prepared for an impending threat and have the essentials if you need to evacuate. Today, Monica Sanders, Senior Fellow at the Tulane University Disaster Resilience Leadership Academy and former American Red Cross Senior Legal Advisor for International Response and Programs, as well as a Hurricane Katrina survivor, is here with us today to help us plan for a disaster. Thanks so much, Monica, for joining us today.
Thank you, Christine. I'm glad to be here.
So tell us more about what items that you recommend for our disaster preparedness kit.
So in a preparedness kit, whether you're going to evacuate or if you're going to shelter in place, because we're still dealing with the pandemic, I recommend having some extra masks, hand sanitizer, some Clorox disinfecting wipes to clean any surfaces, particularly if you're going to a shelter or a hotel. Then we want to have 2 to 3 days worth of food and water, as well as changes of clothes. If you take medication, make sure you have a supply of your medication in that preparedness kit. The other thing you will want to have is charged devices or power banks in case the power goes out, so you're ready for any of those things. Make sure that you have cash on hand. Again, when electricity goes, so do ATMs and cash payment opportunities. If you have pets and there's any extra supplies that your pets need, you want to make sure that you also have those in your preparedness kit.
What precautions do we need to be aware of, especially when we live at an at-risk area?
So in an at-risk area, you still want to have that preparedness kit on hand. It's just a matter of where you keep it in your house. So if you know an event is coming, it's near the door, it's in the car. But during the rest of the year, you want to make sure you just keep it in a closet somewhere. But the biggest thing if you're in an at-risk area is making sure that you're aware of what's going on around you. So signing up for your emergency management text alerts, and also getting that app from your local news station so that you're aware of the weather events that are happening around you.
How do you recommend preparing for evacuations, and what precautions should you take?
So with an evacuation, again, we're dealing with multiple things at the same time. Know who you're going with. So because we're in this pandemic, if you've been with your immediate family or you have a social circle, evacuate with those people. Know where you're going to go. Call ahead to the shelter, to the hotel, and make sure they have space for you. And again, if you have a pet, make sure they'll take your pet. Know how you're going to get there. Plan an evacuation route, but also make sure you have a map and multiple ways to get somewhere. Just in case there are road detours or for some reason a road is closed, you can make sure that you're flexible in knowing how and where you're going. And then finally, have a reunification plan. Have a meetup point. So if you and people that you're going with get separated for some reason, and you can't reach them by cell phone or you don't have a signal, you have a physical space to meet up and reconnect with folks. So have an evacuation plan, but also have a reunification plan.
Something that you recommend is something that I hadn't thought about before, and it's how to handle post-evacuation cleanup.
Yeah, after a storm passes, or even if you have a severe thunderstorm or weather like that, cleaning up is a big thing. There will be debris and probably water left. If you've been through a major storm, like we've seen Ida go through some places, and you have all of this damage, you want to make sure, A, that the place where you're working is safe. It's safe to go back to, it's safe to work. No down power lines or down trees or debris or standing water, anything like that. But then cleanup is important because a lot of times after an event, you will have mold and mildew. And making sure you get that out of your house, both in terms of preserving your house, but also health is important. And the way you do that is with a bleach and water mixture. Those of us in the business use a lot of Clorox. So that Clorox disinfecting bleach with some water is a great way to treat mold and mildew, spot it, make sure you remediate it before it becomes a big problem. The other piece of it is staying safe. In a lot of places, we're talking about record heat. There's a lot of humidity in some places. Make sure you have a lot of good ventilation wherever you're cleaning up, and that you take food and water breaks in between so that you don't get heat exhaustion or just general fatigue after a big event. So you want to do those things. You want to make sure you're disinfecting, that you're using the bleach and water to clean up, but also that you're staying safe while you do it.
And where can we go for more information?
So you'll want to go to Clorox.com. I talked about mixing bleach and water, making sure you do it well. You want to go to that website for that information. Ready.gov has preparedness tips for all kinds of events. So depending on where you are, you can look up the kind of hazard you have and know what kind of preparedness kit or what kind of preparedness precautions you need to put in place. And then finally, like I said, know what's going on around you. So they should be on your website or on your app, making sure they have the latest news and weather forecasts as well.
Well, thank you so much, Monica, for joining us today. I really appreciate this important information about being prepared for a disaster. Unfortunately, we really need this information right now, and I'm grateful for your time with us today.
Thank you. Have a good one, Christine.